So thinking about it, is comparing yourself with others a completely bad thing to do? I've just been thinking about it lately and I really do not know. I'm so glad that you came back here to my YouTube channel, and definitely I have a lot in store for you today. You're welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Genevieve and you're welcome to Staying with Eve. If it's your first time here, I'm so happy, I'm so excited to have you. Please don't run away, just stick with us and definitely you'd have one or two or even more to learn. So today I'm going to be talking about something, and I don't even know, I've not yet picked a side on it, but I think it's something that's very important, and that's the issue of comparison. I came across an Instagram video and it was an interesting thing to watch. It was an Asian lady and she was explaining that she had this set of friends that were the go-getters and all of that, and when she was in their space she felt like she was not doing so much, so she always felt the need to try to catch up with what they were doing and all of that, try to be on her A game. The pressure was just a lot. It's not as if they were the ones putting the pressure on her, but she just felt that way because she was in the circle of people that were getting things done. And so because she felt very uncomfortable in that sphere, she left that group and went back to her other friends, so to say. So this set of people were very complacent, like they they were really enjoying their life. Literally, they were not big dreamers, they were just basically just there. And she found out that in that sphere she was not comfortable still. Like she felt like they were not doing anything, and she felt like they were more like killing her spirit while she was there. And she admitted that she missed where she was coming from. So watching that video, it actually made me ask, is comparing yourself with others really a bad thing to do? And is being among a sphere of people that you think are doing better than you are, is it really a completely bad thing, or is it something that can be motivating? I don't really know, but that's definitely the topic of discussion today. So let's dive right in. Concerning this issue of comparing yourself and all of that, I think it's worse now. Why? Basically because of the media. Because I mean, in the previous times when the media was not a thing yet, you could just be in your space and the only people you're seeing are just the people within your space. But now the media can come online and then you're seeing a 10-year-old doing marvelous things, and then there's there's a 24-year-old you lying on the bed drinking whatever you might have, and at that point in time you just figure out that you've not really done so much with your life. So I think social media is both a good place to be and it's also a bad place to be, and I guess we all know why. I can remember in 2020, that was the first time I started LinkedIn. I opened a LinkedIn account and I was just there, and everybody there seemed to be so corporate. Everybody there seemed to have their things being done. So I felt very uncomfortable in that space altogether, and I decided to just stick with my Instagram and all of that. But now I'm back on LinkedIn anyway. Looking at that now, I think except you have an understanding, right? Except you have an understanding of life, you can barely, or you can really not scroll through the media without necessarily beginning to feel like, am I really doing anything in my life? You will certainly come across very beautiful stories, you will come across perfect lifestyles, you come across so much perfection. Like literally nobody fails on social media, everybody's high up there, everybody's doing so well with life. And I think because of that, when people find stories that are real, when people find platforms or social media handles that are so invested in showing the real aspect of life, the failures and all of that, they tend to value that because they can also relate to those aspects as well. So back to the topic of today. After I've done my yapping on social media, I'm going to be talking about the reason we compare ourselves to others, and basically the upsides to it and the downsides to it. Trust me, there are advantages that lie within comparing yourselves to others, and there are obviously disadvantages, and I think it's just the disadvantages that a lot of people just jump on. But I think generally it's based off of perspective and your approach to life in general. I think that's the only way you can benefit from comparison. If you have a very clear-cut approach to life, then you can benefit from comparing yourself to others. But if you're not really that kind of person, then please, by all means, stay away from comparison. So after I had seen that particular video, I decided to do a surface scratch kinda on comparison and basically get the general idea around it, and if it's really a completely bad thing to do, or if there are some hidden advantages to it. I found out that comparison is basically part of human nature. I was quite surprised. That was one of the things that I found out, that comparing yourself with the next person, comparing yourself with other people, it's more of a way to analyze your own progress, analyze your own worth and identity and all of that. So it's part of human nature generally. So I think the damage lies wholly on how we process the results that comes out from this comparison. So for others, for some individuals, after comparing, it tends to motivate them to want to do more, to get at their A game, to be perfect at whatever it is that they're doing. However, for some others, it plays on their esteem. It plays on their esteem. So they begin to see themselves way less than they are actually supposed to see themselves. So based off of that, let's dive into a bit of psychology. In recent times, I think I've started falling in love slowly with psychology. I don't even know why. And it's not even as if I know so much around it anyways, but I think I'm beginning to pick little interest in it anyways, but that's by the way. There's something called the social comparison theory, and this was one of the things I found out about during my studies on comparison. And basically, the social comparison theory was figured out by Leo Festinger, and it was basically created to explain how human beings sometimes see themselves when it comes to comparison. So he explained that people tend to figure out their own social and personal worth based off of how it stacks up against other people's own. It's all part of trying to figure out where exactly you stand. So you find out that people tend to compare their status to other people's status, their abilities to other people's abilities, their appearance to other people's. Literally, there is nothing that people do not compare with the next person. It's just a way of weighing to know where exactly you stand. It's the brain naturally seeking other reference points to generally assess our progress. I think the idea around it is not bad. However, the bad side to it comes in on how you use it or how you process it. Still based off of this social comparison theory, there are two types of comparison. So there's one where you compare yourself to people that you think are better off, and that's the upside comparison. And there's the other one where you compare yourself to people that you think that you are better than. That's a downside comparison. So I think for both of them, there are advantages obviously, and there are disadvantages. So let's just pay attention to the upside comparison. I think this is a very common one. People comparing themselves with people that are way ahead, that are go-getters, that are doing well in their field and all of that. Just to reiterate what I had said earlier on, it all depends on how you process this thing, and it depends on how you choose to use it. For upside comparison, you're looking at people that are doing so well, probably in a particular field, right? And you're looking at them and you're motivated and you're like, I really want to get this thing done. I really want to get here. However, for some different individuals, that upside comparison might just make you feel like you're not doing anything, might make you feel less of yourself. So it causes an esteem problem for you. For one party, it can cause low self-esteem, it can cause discouragement. But for another party, it can cause encouragement and a constant need to really do better, and just a surge of motivation. You get the surge to improve on yourself, you get the surge to become better. Just as that Instagram reel I had talked about at the beginning of this video, where she was in a group of people that were go-getters, so she found herself trying to always meet up or trying to also do more. She was motivated. However, it was both ways for her. She had the motivation aspect to it and also had the esteem aspect to it. So I think she stayed in the middle. She did not lean completely to the positive side. She stayed in between. So I'm trying to create perfect examples for this upside comparison, but I think I'll use me for example in medicine. I don't know, medical school has really taught me a lot. But then coming to medical school in my 100 level, I like describing medical school as you bringing a group of brainy students and then putting them in one box and saying, now compete, or now let's see who's going to be better off. So I think in my 100 level was me coming in, being good from where I was coming from, and then you're in this box with so many good students, and you're like, I thought I was good, but true, I'm not too good like that. You get growing while in medical school, I literally dumped that feeling. Like, I do not get it anymore in any way. Like, I just figured out that it's more about how much knowledge you can amass from even your peers. So I've come across classmates that are moving stuffs. We call it moving stuffs. I'll come across classmates that are moving stuffs, and in that moment, I feel like, where is this person getting this knowledge from? I begin to ask questions. I begin to pry more into the knowledge that they're sharing, wanting to know more around it. And in doing that, I would also find myself being like, okay, I really want to know stuff like this, and then I go back. So it's less about an esteem problem as it used to be earlier in year one and all of that. Now it's more of a more make you just do this till they go where they go. So it's more of a motivation than a, I don't know. So this is like one of the examples that could come to mind. The second type of comparison is the downward comparison. I don't know if this is very common, but even if it's common, I think it's going to be more of a mind something. I've not seen people very vocal about the fact that they think they are better than someone else. I think it's more shown in the attitude of the person than in the words. I don't know. So for downside comparison, you're comparing yourself to someone or to people who you believe that you are better than. The bad side to this is that it can cause you to become arrogant, it can cause you to become very prideful, you can also become very complacent. I think it generally depends on your personality anyways, right? Some people have that personality where they can easily become very prideful when they start seeing that they are better off than some others. And then for a different personality, the good side to it is that it helps boost your esteem, right? It helps boost your esteem. It also helps your sense of gratitude. I think this is the approach that most people have come across. This approach they use, they have a better sense of gratitude. Like, you tend to appreciate what you have more. So let's say you're learning graphic design, right? You're learning graphic design and you're in a graphic design class, and somehow prior to that you've gotten previous knowledge on some things and the teacher is teaching, and after the teacher is done teaching, some people come to meet you and they're like, please teach me this stuff. And then there's this part of you that is like, okay, I'm able to teach this. You tend to appreciate that aspect of you better. But some other people will process it in a different way and they'll be like, I'm better than all these people, though, I beg, and all of that. And then another instance is if you have something that the next person does not have. Let's say you are in a graphic design class and you really need a laptop for it, and the next person doesn't have a laptop or something like that. You're better off in that case. Obviously, you're better off in that case. So it makes you appreciate the fact that you have a laptop. I'm so bad with illustrations, but this is just what came to mind right now. These two forms of comparison, it makes me want to talk about how important it is for your circle to be. And if you find yourself in a circle where you're constantly the one that is adding value, where you're constantly the one that is giving, when I'm talking about giving, I'm not talking about material things alone, I'm also talking about intellectual things and all of that. You have tendencies of facing the disadvantages of downside comparison, where you're above everyone else. There's a good side to it, right? An opportunity to teach, an opportunity to build on the knowledge you already have. But in that space, you're not being charged up to do better than you'd have actually done. So because of that, you might become very complacent, you might become very relaxed and not see the need to improve on yourself. But if you're in an environment that constantly charges you to want to be better off, yes, you might get worked up or you might have an esteem problem. However, over time, you find yourself improving. especially depending on your approach to it, depending on how you view it. That's something I like saying, and one or two times I've also heard other people say the same thing, that when God really wants to help you, or when there's something you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing, God has a way of bringing you into circles with people doing that particular thing that you are supposed to be doing. Exactly, because that's the only way you can be charged up. That's the only way you can even have the idea around that particular venture in the first place. So just as I like saying, you must always have a learning spirit, you must always have a spirit that is very much motivated to be better than where you currently are. So just as people like saying, too much of everything is not good, sugar is sweet, but then too much of sugar is not good, and stuff like that, right? Now we're going to be addressing something. What happens when you fall so deep into the comparison trap? So it kills your sense of self-worth. Like, you're always going to feel like you're not doing enough. You're always going to feel like you're not doing anything good at all. You're always going to feel like, I really need to match up bedtime. And I think the particular problem with upside comparison, just as I've always explained, is how you go about it. For instance, myself, if I'm comparing myself with someone else, I'm not doing it from a point of reduced esteem or anything like that. I'm basically trying to pick out the things this person is doing right and trying to apply it to my life, and that's it, basically it. At that point in time, I might be admitting that yes, this person is really good at this, but I'm not at that point in time admitting that this person is better than I am. Definitely not. At that point in time, I know that if I can replicate what this person is doing, certainly I'll get to this point as well. Chasing another person's version of success can be very exhausting, can be a whole lot, because it's not even your goal to start with. So create your own version of success and chase it with your whole heart. However, in chasing your own version of success, it is not out of place to pick one or two lessons from other people and apply that into your own version of success. It's a different case if you're chasing this person's entire version of success and wanting to achieve exactly what that person has done. And it's a different thing if you're chasing your own version of success and trying to achieve your own thing while picking lessons from other people that have gone ahead of you. It's a very unwise thing, or it's a very crazy thing to try to compete with someone who has an excellent spirit. Someone who has an excellent spirit is a learner per time. So you can definitely not meet the person where you met them few minutes back. So it means as you're trying to catch up to where the person has been or where the person was, the person has moved ahead quickly. So all you can do in that kind of situation is just to learn certain things from the character of that person and apply it to yours. So in comparing yourself with that person, you're not necessarily comparing the person's being, you're basically comparing characters, you're basically comparing strategies and seeming to apply those things to your own goal, to your own thing that you're pursuing. Much as I said earlier that yeah, comparison can be a good thing, it can also be a bad thing. However, the general idea around it is how you process it. What are you gaining from this? Okay, yes, you sat down, you've compared yourself to two people. What have you drawn out of that comparison that you just did? What have you learned, and what are you going to do differently? It's only when you take it that way that's when it will benefit you. Or if you take it the other way around, then you find yourself in the comparison trap and it becomes very difficult to get yourself out of there. So another thing is you must make sure that in comparing yourself, you're comparing yourself to really the true things about this person, not necessarily the filters alone. The people that I like learning from are people that I've followed for a very long time, and then I can see a consistency in their character, I can see a consistency in their person. I've followed their growth process basically. So I know that these people's results are as a result of these things that they've applied over time. Just make sure that when you're comparing yourself with the people that are actually true to what they are doing. Just to summarize what I said, when you look up to people that are doing better than you, it can actually push you to do better than you currently are doing. Then to the second aspect, when you look at people that you are better than, it kind of gives you a sense of gratitude. You begin to appreciate how far you've come to actually get to the point where you are, and it also helps you appreciate what you have rather than keep chasing more. So whatever you would gain from each of this type of comparison depends on what you choose to make out of it in the first place. For me, I've learned to intentionally stand on the positives when it comes to comparing myself with the next person. So it means that when I find myself diving right into the esteem problem, I drag myself right back and tend to analyze the situation from an objective point of view rather than from a subjective point of view. Instead of asking myself, why am I not like this person? Why am I not here yet? I tend to ask myself, what is this person doing right? What is consistent with this person's character that I can emulate and add or put into my own goals? Because just as I established initially, you don't have to spend your entire life chasing another person's goals. Create your own goals and chase them. However, in chasing your own goals, it's wise to apply other people's character patterns that have yielded results. I think generally the best approach to life is the learning approach where you're willing to learn at every point in time. I think it's very important for us to evaluate our social circles. If none of the people you're interacting with, if none of them are inspiring you per time to do more, then I think we have to do something about your life. The movie Judge of the Jungle really taught me something. I saw it as a kid, right? So my idea around it might be vague, but if there's something I really remember about the movie is that George was dwelling amongst apes basically, and he was human, but he was acting just as them because those were the people that he was socializing with. So he did not realize that there was something different because he was so comfortable with that space of people that he had over time been with. So sometimes we just need an extra nudge to know that we're supposed to be ahead of where we currently are. And if we do not get that nudge, then it means we are going to remain comfortable in that space. And trust me, I don't think that's God's plan for anybody to remain at a spot for a lifetime. No. I feel that external motivation, it usually comes from people that are doing things. I don't know, maybe it's a personal thing for me. So let me not just choke people with things that work for me anyways. Thanks for watching this video and thanks for staying with Eve as always. I'd definitely love to see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, and don't forget to share. And if you've not subscribed to this channel, God is watching you.